Snaps good, holds good, kick on the way by Conradi, end over end, and it is good! Kyle Conradi hit a 54-yard field goal, and Iowa State leads it 20-19! Oh my goodness!
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Iowa State Fan Perspective. As always, brought to you by us at Play the Fight Song. We appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. The historical undefeated season comes to an end for Iowa State. We will look at the positives. We will look at the negatives. We will break that all down to you tonight, guys. As always, we are partnered by our friends at No Rivals. Shop norivals.com. My name is Jake. That is my brother, Justin. If you're new to the show, we appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. And we are sorry that this is your first show because usually we are celebrating wins here, but this is the fan perspective. We take it to you guys from both sides. And I'm sure you guys, much like you guys, you're fans just like us who want to express maybe your emotions and opinions on this loss for Iowa State. The positives. Some other teams lost on Saturday. There's still a lot of football left to be played. Justin, you were in Jack Trice Stadium on Saturday to witness this gut-wrenching loss. How are we doing tonight? Let's break it down for us. How was the vibes on Saturday in Jack Trice Stadium?
Yeah, we're doing good. It was a little delayed today, but the sun still did rise. It was a little later than we were expecting, but it still rose. The atmosphere in Jack Trice was pretty good. It looked like, I don't know if it was an official sellout. It looked like a sellout to me. Thought the atmosphere was still really good, and the fans were in it all the way. I mean, a couple of the fans around me, I guess, were getting a little antsy, getting a little angry, but for the most part, I thought the attitude of the crowd at least was pretty positive, and they stayed with it all the way till the end, so that was good.
Yeah, I thought the crowd was great on Saturday. I think, yeah, you kind of mentioned in a text to me that it was kind of like it was quiet on the way out. Obviously some disappointment comes with this loss, but I think there's some more thoughts to that. If this is your guys' first time paying attention, tuning into this episode, we will break down the Kansas game as well. We'll get to that. I think Justin and I, we kind of talked beforehand. We more so want to just kind of recap the Texas Tech game, kind of all of what happened and kind of lay out what Iowa State has going forward. So Justin, you kind of mentioned the vibes in the stadium. Let's just get your initial thoughts and just the game in general and what are your takes from Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you watch the game, it was definitely our sloppiest game of the year. Just a really frustrating performance from an Iowa State team that we've kind of come to assume better performance than they gave us yesterday. And it wasn't even like frustration like from the crowd and from the fans and things like that. It was kind of weird. I mean, we've had it before after losses, but usually we don't have the expectations that we had like at this point in the season. So it was just like kind of quiet and sad and rainy and dark and cold leaving the stadium. It kind of sucked, but we're walking out of the stadium. We end up walking by some Texas Tech fans, and I assume must have been some parents of some of the Texas Tech players, and they were just overjoyed. And I just remember this one dad was like yelling, like, "That's why you play the game. That's why you play the game." And I was like, couldn't be more true. I mean, I kind of feel like, at least from the fan perspective, that's all we can really bring here. We're kind of assuming based off of rankings, based off of spreads, that Iowa State's just going to take care of business. But just like we've talked about all year and look around at college football, you pointed on it early today that like a bunch of teams lost. Like you just can't take anything for granted in college football and in this conference. And hopefully it's somewhat of a wake-up call for us, I guess, that we can get kind of back to our roots. But as far as the play on the field goes, the last 2 weeks have just been really sloppy for us and just has a bad taste in our mouth right now. I don't know. It's hard to be kind of more positive after something like that.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to my mind in this loss, Iowa State, again, falls to Texas Tech at home, 23-22. The difference between, obviously, this one and the UCF game, number one, you came away with a victory, right? So played sloppy in both of those games. But it felt like Iowa State on Saturday against Texas Tech had numerous opportunities to win the football game, whereas the UCF game, you pretty much, I mean, you shouldn't have won that football game. I mean, the statistics show the ESPN probability was 99% chance of UCF winning for a reason. This one, this one stings, at least for me, because it just felt like there were so many opportunities that you could have capitalized on Saturday. You got the turnovers. You got some big plays to go your way. Couldn't convert in the red zone. We'll break all of that stuff down. But at least for me, Justin, it just felt like this was one you easily should have won. I don't want to discredit Texas Tech. Joey McGuire has figured out something defensively with Iowa State in the red zone dating back to the 2022 loss. And he's just kind of got Iowa State's number in a grim way and just beats Iowa State in a way that Texas Tech normally doesn't win football games either. I think that was the part, right? Like we know Texas Tech's horrendous defensive statistics. You force their passing game to 2 interceptions. I actually initially thought we held Brooks under 100 yards until I went to the box score and checked.
Well, they did until that last possession. And if you listen to Matt Campbell's post-game press conference, they kind of talked about that because I thought the run defense was actually pretty good this week until that last possession where we were kind of playing the clock and playing the pass where they really kind of capitalized on it. But yeah, credit to Texas Tech for getting the win. But yesterday, neither of those teams really played near their best at all. And neither of them really played quality football enough to win, in my opinion. But Texas Tech had the ball last, and they took advantage of their opportunity when they did.
Yeah, I think maybe that's also one of the more gut-wrenching parts of this story of this game from Saturday was the cardiac clones, as we've called them and we've referred to them this year. You thought they were going to have that moment again, right? Rocco Becht and just honestly some other guys, Carson Brown with the play of the year from that kid. Awesome to see that. They get that last drive together. It wasn't pretty all game. You thought it's the exact same script as the UCF game. They get that big touchdown. You hear Juicy Wiggle on the TV.
Yeah, in the stadium, it totally felt like we had it too. It's just, I mean, it's not something we've come to become accustomed with our defense. I mean, usually they've been getting a stop when they've been asked for it, and they went right into the Juicy Wiggle. They're playing Mr. Brightside Stadium, just trying to pull out all the stops just to get everyone super amped up. And credit Texas Tech, they just came to the field and did their business and took the life out of us.
And I think on that last possession too, right? Like, yeah, if there was one thing you trust on this team, it's John Haycock's defense to get one more stop. And it wasn't Justin. It wasn't like they just had this huge 75-yard touchdown pass in a breakdown in the coverage. No, it was methodical. Yeah. There were big fourth down conversions from Baron Morton. They kept getting 7 yards a carry. They kept getting a couple of good completions in the passing game. Malik Verdone makes this just monumental play with one hand in the secondary to prevent what actually would have been a 40, 50-yard touchdown pass. And then you're like, all right, that was it. That was the play. They're finally going to get the stop. Here's another 5-yard run. Here's another 7-yard pass. You get them down to the 1 yard line. They get the false start. And you're like, oh my God, we're really going to do this, huh? We're going to squeeze this out until the very end. And unfortunately, Iowa State couldn't. I thought when they scored the touchdown, I thought that was a horrendous play call by Joey McGuire. I thought, like, what are they?
Or the run, the
run, where they went direct to.
I don't know if I'd say that, but I mean, we can get into like the actual breakdown of the game now just to kind of get things moving here. But they ran the quad on the wide side of the field, and I thought it was pretty obvious they weren't going to go to that bunch set. Like that seemed.
I know that's why it's obvious.
Well, like,
that's why I thought it was a stupid play call.
Apparently, our defense wasn't ready for it.
Because they got the tight end lined up there and they know they're going direct to Brooks. And it's like, where do you think this is going? Like, they're not, I mean, to my untrained eye, I didn't think they were going to pass the ball out of that. Like, I didn't think they were going to have some trick play that they were going to try and be cute. I'm like, they're just going to they're going to lead block with that tight end and they're going to give it to their best player. Like, I don't understand how we didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I felt all day that even though they didn't score as many points as they did, it seemed like their offense had answers for what our defense was throwing at them. And on the opposite side of the ball, I felt like our offense was just way too predictable.
Yeah, I didn't really. We have the outline here. We have the notes of the show, obviously, and we were going to get to, I mean, predictability and the play calling was obviously an issue yesterday. And just didn't know when that was going to get brought up at this point. I mean, we could talk about it. You saw the tweet today. What was that guy's name? I don't know. I want to
Yeah,
kind
the
of give
one
him
I
some
just
credit.
sent to you a little bit ago.
And I saw that earlier when you sent it to me by Cole
Converse.
Converse.
Yeah.
He said that he went back and watched the game, and he said that on every single Iowa State offensive play, he was able to predict either it was a run or pass on 70 of 77, something like that,
Yeah.
yesterday, out of just based on bunches and sets and formations. And in the Baylor game, he only predicted half of that right. So he's basically just saying how he knows exactly what we're going to run out of whatever's put on the field. And it did feel it's kind of I'm lenient to step back and criticize the play caller just because there's a lot that goes into it, I think. But I think that's a lot of the main takeaways I've been hearing is from the fans, beat writers, people who cover the team. The offensive predictability yesterday is, I think, what set Iowa State back in this loss.
Absolutely. And the thing that scares me is I think we had that issue against UCF as well. I mean, after that West
Mm-hmm.
Virginia game, we were singing the praises of Mauser and how great of a game he had that day and just how excited we were. And I am no good football mind myself, but even the last 2 weeks, I've been doing it from the stands. I've been like, I know I was saying it to you a little bit in the UCF game, and I was saying it to the guys with me yesterday. I was like, I don't even know what it is, but it's been predictable. Like you can tell based on how they're lining up with what kind of play is going to come. And a lot of times it's like Higgins isolated on one side of the field, ball's going his way. I mean, for better or for worse, even when it's working. But a lot of times with a run, they have really struggled to run the ball without an extra blocker in the backfield. And credit to our guy, Steve O'Klotz. Like he's been doing a great job. And all of our run success has come with him lined up in the backfield and being like a lead blocker. But when we don't have the extra guy back there, when we don't have him, like we're not able to run the ball. And teams know that. And they've been taking advantage of us in that way.
Yeah, I thought actually, I think I texted somebody this yesterday. I thought Iowa State ran the ball well up until probably the second last possession of the game. And I thought Iowa State needed to start just let it out there. Like Mauser, I know you want to spread it out and just throw it around. I thought that's what we wanted to do, but he kind of still felt like he was playing the game of, I want to do that, but I also want to keep them honest. And we just have to run the ball on first down or second down just to keep them honest. It's like, no, the game at this point is in hand. We just got to do what we're good at right now. Jaden Higgins had one of the best games, honestly, of his career. He was just getting open, seemed like every other play. It's like, just throw the ball. Like, I don't think Texas Tech is really scared if we're running the football right now.
They had statistically like the worst pass defense in the nation going into yesterday.
Correct. And I just throw it. Just keep throwing it. I don't care if it's like short intermediate stuff, screen plays, whatever. I thought the run game should have been abandoned with 2 possessions left, but I do still think they are running the ball much better than they were last year. So I like positive side, credit is where credit is due. Abu Sama didn't have his big home run plays, but it is so refreshing to see him get his 4 or 5 yards he's done it the last 2 weeks. He's ran the ball really efficient. He's ran the ball really, really efficient.
It's been really good to see him play as well as he has, even though if like the stats aren't as flashy as they used to be. He is playing well. And a lot of those times when he's getting the handoff, he's getting hit before he even gets to the line. And I know that's something we've been accustomed to seeing with guys like Dave Montgomery and Breece Hall, which is unfortunate that is kind of what they have to deal with. But yeah, Abu had a lot of big breaks yesterday that really kind of kept some of those drives alive. And like you touched on, if passing the ball to help out the run is what we got to do, then they got to start leaning into that because there was no rhythm offensively yesterday. And like I said, when they don't have the extra blocker in the backfield like Steve-O, they're really struggling to get a push. And that is like the run plays where Abu and Carson are getting hit in the backfield. Like I feel like a lot of Carson's success came out of that I formation, which works, but it also makes us a lot more predictable. And then when you spread it out, like defenses are more prepared to be defending the pass.
Yeah. And so let's kind of flip it to the other side on play calling duties. this is why, I mean, first of all, we're not in the film room. We don't see it every day. We don't know what goes all into it. And I think a lot of times it's easy to just go after the play caller, but I'm more of the opinion of sometimes, Justin, I think you just got to have players to make plays. And
Absolutely. I don't want to put it all on Mauser, but our O-line, the push that we've been getting on run play certainly hasn't helped.
Yeah. Well, I even wanted to start at the top of the players, and I'm not here to criticize or anything like that, but Rocco ranks back-to-back weeks of a 49 ranking on PFF as a passer rating. Stats don't tell you everything, but if you watch the game, you see it with your eyes, you would agree that's a pretty accurate ranking based on those power ratings that PFF does. Had other great plays yesterday. I think that spin around out of the pocket, throw to Higgins for that touchdown was one of the best plays he's ever made. And on the other side, seemed we've touched on it. I know we have. He has tunnel vision. I just disagree if people don't think he does. When you have somebody as good as Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, I understand it. I get why you immediately want to look their way 75% of the time. It was harder to see on TV, but being in the stadium 2 weeks ago for the UCF game, he misses guys. There are other guys that are wide open, and he found them. I mean, Carson Brown was open there, and Carson turned it into a great play. So he sees it sometimes, but I don't know. Am I the only one who thinks this? I feel like right now he's kind of too locked in, and then also to your point, Justin, I do feel like he's getting a little happy feet in the pocket because there are times he doesn't get that protection that he needs.
Yeah, you can't put the blame at the feet of any one person or any one player for how they've been the last 2 weeks. It's definitely been a group effort, but I don't know if it's by design or if it's a Rocco issue with that tunnel vision. I know we've talked about how good Higgins and Noel have been, so you definitely want to get them the ball as much as you can, but it does seem at some points we are seeing the growing pains of a younger quarterback starting to trying to figure it out, with defenses throwing different stuff at him when his first read's not there, how he handles it. And a lot of the times, like, I think it's very natural for a young quarterback is when that first read's not there, like you said, gets a little happy feet, tries to make plays with his feet, which he has done a really good job of. Obviously, that UCF game was a good representation of that, but I think we just kind of have grown. I don't know if it's just like expectation or what it is, but we just kind of expect him to be a little more mature and have more answers for that than we're expecting. Well, one play for me that really disappointed me was the 2-point conversion. I'm not sure who the receiver was running the flat route straight for the front pylon for that 2-point, but he had him right away.
It was Noel. I just don't. That was really
he
frustrating.
Waited. I mean, especially when you're on a 2-point conversion, you're right there in the end zone. That's got to be a throw. That's got to come out right away. Like the longer you wait, like you don't know what's going to happen in the end zone like that. And for some reason, he just wasn't quick to pull the trigger, and then play kind of broke down from there. But it's just little mistakes like that we're kind of, to be an elite team, you got to be more buttoned up. And like when you're making mistakes like that, this is kind of how we get results that we've been having.
Yeah. And it's funny because Rocco's a super smart kid, and I wouldn't trade anybody for him right now at the quarterback spot. And he understands that. Like if his dad, on Chris Williams' podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, Rocco understands the pressure that comes with playing quarterback, and he understands, the ups and downs that come with it. And sometimes the blame's just going to be thrown at your feet no matter what. But yeah, the Reds, let's go into that, Justin, because you mentioned the failed 2-point conversion. Iowa State scores 22 total points. I think that was one of the more frustrating things on Saturday. Let's highlight some plays. Didn't convert on 4th down early in the first quarter. I personally did not love that choice to go for it. I am more so of get aggressive late, take your points early. I thought Kyle Conradi actually kicked well. I'm not. That 51-yard field goal was so hard, man. And in the rain and the snap, like, that's whatever. He kicked
that 4th down conversion was also one of those plays where it was just snap and we're throwing.
Yep, didn't even just snap and
look to see where the defense. That ball was just going there.
Yep. So that one hurt. Thought you just left 3 points off the board early when you could have had it. You lose by 1. Again, Not one play loses you the game. You settle then you settle for a field goal on the 3-yard line because you couldn't convert in the red zone late in the second half.
That one hurt.
Yep. You got to come up with 6 there.
From
You
the stadium,
in.
it looked like, was it Abu or Carson who had that run? Who got us into the red zone? Got us to like the 1-yard line. I don't know. It looked like he was in from in the stadium. Did it look like that on TV? Did he step out at the 1?
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah. Now I'm remembering on the sideline. Yeah, yes. Yes, I thought he was in. I thought he was in.
It looked like it from the stadium too, and from the view that they had on the Jumbotron too. I thought for sure he was in.
I thought he was in there, and I am not like Iowa State fans. If there's one thing we love to criticize refs, and it gets so redundant to me.
I think they had a bad game for both teams yesterday.
At the same time, yes, that catch on the last possession, where he didn't have possession on his leg, you know what I'm talking about? Until he caught it out of bounds. That was one of the craziest calls I've seen sometime, but that's besides the point.
The refs had some bad calls on both sides. That PI that we benefited from, that Noel benefited from, that was a bad call.
Yep. No, I completely agree. So your red zone chances, and then you fumble for the first time in the year. Gabe Burkle, it's a tough hit. Didn't see it coming. Came from behind. Got to squeeze the football. It's 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12. You get 10 or 12 yards. You could pick up at least 3 there, you feel like, or maybe you go for it there. I probably would have been pro go for it in that position. First fumble of the year for this football team, and it came at a terrible time, right out of the second half. As soon as you're driving, you're trying to get the lead to come out of the second half. And you missed on that opportunity too. A lot of just missed opportunities. And then let's go back again. Seems so small now, but that 2-point conversion was huge. I don't think people understand the vision and how hard it is, especially for a guy in size like Rocco, it is to see everything from the pocket with dudes just screaming at your face. That one was a little frustrating because you're rolling out to your strong side. You're rolling out to your right. The play is designed to go to your best player who you're always looking at in Jalen Noel. I don't know if he was looking at somebody else for a first read, but it feels like that play, like Noel was the read there. And that's frustrating because
he wasn't he wasn't in the end zone right away. I think maybe he was trying to let it develop where he could hit him when he was getting open. But when you're in the red zone, that's going to close in so much faster. And I feel like you just want to get it to Noel and let him make a play. But I feel like I don't know. We could comment on X and O's, but you never really know what the read is there, what they're looking at. So
and the situation too, right?
Hypercritical about it.
You had the touchdown, so it's only a 2-point conversion. So like you can be aggressive. Like a pick is not going to be the end of the world. I understand they could maybe take it back, but wouldn't be the end of the world. All right.
He ended up throwing it straight into the chest of the defender anyways. So
yes. Yeah, that's right. So let's flip it when we're trying to finish up on this game. Held Texas Tech to 23 points, but still felt like a little bit disappointing from the defense. Did you know, Justin, that Iowa State has given up a opening touchdown this is their 4th straight game? Baylor, West Virginia, UCF, Texas Tech have all scored on their first possession. Now, you could say that's a credit to John Haycock and his ability to adjust as the game goes on, and every first possession is always scripted. So it's probably going to be your best opportunity to score, but that's frustrating. To not come out of the gate, especially a home game, when we've been there. The stadium has been awesome this year. The fans have been awesome this year. The first quarter, the kickoff, like the energy in the stadium has felt different. And you've trotted out your defense on 4 straight Big 12 games, 3 straight home games, and you've let the offense go right down the field.
Yep. I think it's just a kind of a testament to the overall sloppiness that we've been talking about. It just feels like they're unprepared. Feels like they've kind of been taking some of these opponents for granted, and we've just had to fight an uphill battle, which is just not a position you want to put yourself in as a team. I mean, home on a squeak out of a home win against UCF, and then all the mistakes and stuff that we saw in this Texas Tech team too. It's just at home in Jack Trice Stadium is just something you can't have if you want to be a legit team.
I thought we obviously just talked about the last drive, and that was frustrating that Texas Tech just pretty marched down the field with no pushback. How about we didn't even touch on the penalties. You get a Jontez Williams pick that could have flipped the field. You get a hands in the face. I can't even remember who it was. It was on Yedem. That's backbreaking because you could turn that into a touchdown.
And they ended up getting 6 on that drive. 7.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So there's their 3 touchdowns. 1 on the first possession, 1 on the last possession, and 1 you could have just put a stop to, but you got a terrible hands to the face call.
Yeah.
I thought the safeties had their worst game of the year, and that's a group we've been really high on. I still love the talent. Bo Freiler, even Jeremiah Cooper, man. Josh Kelly on Saturday, the Texas Tech receiver, really good. You listen to the show, we highlighted it. We know he's good. I was disappointed by some of just how wide open he was. I mean, it's just one-on-one coverage, and he just made a better move. And I get it. It's hard. You're playing on grass field. The rain is super. You don't know where the receiver is going to go. You have to predict that. He knows where he's going to go. So the advantage is already in his favor, kind of like Abu in the K-State game last year in the snow. But I don't know. That one hurt because that one felt like the steadiest group on the team. And I mean, there's flag routes and like Freiler's just getting beat like by the whip of his neck, and Kelly's 10 yards past him.
Yep. Yeah, the middle of the field was definitely I don't know if it's all on the safeties, a little bit on the linebackers as well. The middle of the field has become a glaring weakness for us in the pass game.
I will say too, because there are people who really complain about it, and I kind of did in the preseason. The pass rush, guys. Let me.
When was the last time they got a sack?
JR got one yesterday off that screen where they tried to cut everybody at the ankles, and he just hopped over.
Yeah, on the screen, but like on a design, just
Joey Peterson,
just drop it in the coverage. Wow,
Joey Peterson
have this here.
Got one yesterday. But no, you're right. It's not many. But here's what I will say to their defense. Their job is to not be this aggressive, super fast Georgia pass rush that just screams in your face right away. First of all, we don't blitz because we have so many young linebackers. Marcus Neal, another guy I hadn't seen all year. I thought he did all right, 31. But it's not to get a bunch of pressure. It's to contain. It's to try to get pressure with the 3 guys that you trust. And it's sitting 8 back, and it's make your quarterback make reads. And for a guy who's been pretty good all year, Justin, that was the best passer we've seen probably this year in Baron Morton. You should have gotten 3 interceptions out of him. They are doing their job.
Yeah. We've been super critical up to this point, and we might need to speed it up a little bit here. But
no, this is good. If you're tuning in, I think we'll get to Kansas. We'll be all right.
Yeah. I'm sure if you watched the game yesterday, obviously there's a lot more bad to talk about than good. But as far as the good, I thought the defense played fairly well. They had a couple really good 3 and outs, and I thought some of our corners played really well. Miles Purchase specifically, I thought he had a really good game yesterday. He had that pick.
Miles played awesome.
Had a couple really good plays in the run. I just wanted to highlight him because it was really standing out to me. I do think it's hard in a loss, but I still think that defense played really well. They had a couple really huge 3rd down stops in that second half. If you look at the team stats, it was like 5 of 16 on 3rd down. They were only 6 of 15. I mean, we were right there.
I don't want that to be mistaken, and I'm glad you highlighted it. I thought the safeties had their worst games of the year. Jontez Williams, Darian Porter, Miles Purchase all should have had picks yesterday. 2 of them did. Those guys, Miles especially, probably played his best game of the year. He was awesome. Really, really good stuff. Against, like we said, it's a really good receiving core. Josh Kelly's really good, and he just had a couple more plays than we could come up with, is what it felt like. All right, Justin. I thought we took away some good positives. There are some positives to take away. I thought the corners played well. The defense, for the most part, there's just things here and there. We touched on it a lot. Anything else before we move on to Kansas? Because as gloomy as it felt yesterday, you still have so much more football to play. Like, there's a lot of season left.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I know we're going to touch on that here, but especially with the loss to Kansas State, or the loss that Kansas State suffered. We're still tied for second in the Big 12, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we win out, I believe
You're
we
in.
still are locked
You're
in because of
'Cause
Colorado's loss to K-State. We'd have the win over
Correct.
the common opponent there. So all's not lost. It's been really frustrating with just the lack of consistency that the offense has showed the last 2 weeks, but I still think our defense is there. I think they're going to continue to get more healthy. We just got to button some things up, and November is, I mean, as good as we've been in October, we've struggled in November, honestly, the last 3 years. I looked it up. I think our record in November is like 5-7. And this is going to be a really long month for us. The first college football playoff rankings come out on Tuesday. So, I mean, Iowa State fans have already been talking about it for weeks about the playoff. I mean, that's not going to slow down anytime soon. And we still have 4 full more games to go. And what is that? So we still got like 25% of our season left in the regular season. I mean, there's so much more football and so much room for this team to grow. We'll get through it throughout the week, but I don't know about you. I'm ready to put this loss behind us.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's funny because Josh Pate talked about it on his show a couple of days ago and said this is uncommon ground for many fan bases this year. And Iowa State was one of them, where you're heading 7-0 into the month of November. And the month of November is the longest month of your entire life as a fan. You're playing 5 games. Every game is as big as the next. Obviously, just didn't get off to the right start. But you can either dwell on it, you can continue to play sloppy, or maybe this is just the wake-up call this team needs, because I don't know if we need a reminder, Justin. We're still having there's still a huge opportunity for this team to get an all-time wins record in a single season with 10. Like 10 is still very much on the table. You are still favored pretty much in every game going forward if you continue to take care of business. So before we get into Kansas, let's move on to the next one. But before we do that, let's take a little break. Guys, our prediction segment and our preview at the end of each episode is always brought to you by our friends at No Rivals. Shop norivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping. No, they do not have Iowa State there yet. Go to teams, request a team, do your job each and every single week. We appreciate you guys checking them out. Go to let them know Iowa State, they want them on deck. They do their job. I hope my goal for them, I bet we have Iowa State hats by next season. I'm willing to bet money on it. So keep working with them. As always, prediction is brought to you by them. So let us know in the comments. Do you think Kansas or Iowa State's going to win this weekend? Give us a score prediction. And if you go 2 for 2, as long as you're subscribed to us, we will get you guys a hat at shopnorivals.com. The Kansas Jayhawks are on deck, Justin, as Iowa State travels down to Arrowhead Stadium, Hilton South, Jack Trice Stadium South, whatever you want to call it, makes it down to Kansas City to take on Kansas. 2:30 kick.
I'm not sure we can call a place that we're 0-3 Jack Trice South, but that's all right.
Well, we might have to make it that way now. We might have to turn it around. Iowa State opens up right now. We're recording this on Sunday as a 3.5-point favorite. Justin, did you also know that I counted, I think, of the 5 Big 12 games next week, I believe all of them, or maybe one, maybe not one. The rest of the games are all 3.5-point spreads. West Virginia, Cincinnati, Colorado, Texas Tech, all 3.5-point spreads. So it's just going to get crazier for this league. And with the loss of Kansas State, it makes it even crazier going into this weekend. Iowa State is 0-3 in Arrowhead Stadium. I think you pulled that from somewhere. You confirming that?
Yeah, we have 2 losses to Kansas State. What years were those? Was that 08,
09 and 10? 09 and 10.
09 and 10, and then the Florida State loss in 2001.
Should be 1 and 2 on there. Seneca was in. We're not going to
Can we go 2-1 with a missed extra point against Kansas State?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we probably should have won.
That was overtime. That was a game that me and you were at. I don't know how old I was, 7 or 8 or something. Everyone's freaking out. Iowa State scores as time expires, miss an extra point, and we lose, and I can't even fathom what's going on. But I'm not for sure yet, but I'm pretty sure I will be in Arrowhead Stadium this weekend. So hopefully we can exercise a little demons there.
Yeah, let's get the House of Horrors out of Arrowhead. That was the only game I can remember that little young Jake left that stadium in tears. Was not happy. All right. What do you want to know about Kansas? First of all, players to highlight. If you're watching us here on YouTube, it's number 4, running back Devin Neal. Iowa State has not had breaks, Justin, with running backs these last 3 weeks. And RJ Harvey, Taj Brooks, and now Devin Neal has quietly been the best back in this conference. Now, Taj is the best. He's gotten his 100-yard games, but Devin Neal has been about as consistent as they come. 5.8 yards per carry. He's got 8 touchdowns this year. And this is trouble for a team in a rush defense in Iowa State who ranks 97th with giving up, I believe they're giving up 4.9 yards per carry. Kansas in general, because they have another good back, Daniel Highshaw as a backup, they are ranked 17th in rushing offense. So right away, we're listing an opportunity for Kansas as a weakness in this Iowa State defense.
Yep. Yeah, another similar style of offense that we faced the last 2 weeks. Really heavy in the run game. That's their bread and butter. Well, I guess you could say 4 weeks if you count West Virginia as well.
Yep.
Really heavy in the run. It's just a lot of how the Big 12's been looking this year, which does not favor us very well. But I mean, if we're gonna go where we want to be, we got to figure it out eventually. I feel like based on how we handled Brooks, if we don't get ourselves in the bad positions that we did in the pass game yesterday, we should be able to take advantage of Kansas a little more. I know I'm sure you're going to get into Daniel's stats here a little bit. He's got like the 9 picks this year. Definitely a big day for Iowa State secondary. It's for something to look out for.
Yep, let's go to him. Jalen Daniels, the guy you want to look out for. This was a preseason favorite to be the Big 12 Player of the Year last season. Obviously, he had dealt with back injuries all of last year. He's just been a shell of himself this year for the most part. Justin, you highlighted it. 9 picks, 11 TDs. He's averaging 190 pass yards per game, has the ability to use his legs. He's still, like, his talent is still there, and he's getting better. He's been good against Kansas State. He was good against Arizona State, but the turnovers, man, have killed him. He fumbles in that Kansas State game that basically felt like it cost them the football game. And that's another thing I wanted to highlight. This team's 2-6 overall. They're 1-4 in the Big 12. But they've had 5 losses by 6 points or less. This line is at 3.5 for a reason, Justin. It's gonna be close. Absolutely. Can Daniels just, if he doesn't make the mistakes, this could be a dangerous spot for Iowa State.
Yeah, if Daniels is on and they're running the ball like they're used to, Iowa State is really vulnerable to this team. I think, and I'm sure we're going to get to the keys of the game. They got to keep Devin Neal under, I don't know, 90 yards. I mean, if we can hold him under 90 yards, I think we're going to be sitting good, because then they're going to have to lean on that pass a little more, and that's where Daniels is going to be prone to mistakes. But if their run game is gashing us and Daniels is a little more comfortable, he is still talented enough to make us pay.
Defensively, they're okay. Like Kobe Bryant, if you're watching us here again on the YouTube, he's probably their best defensive guy on the field. The corners are really good. Him, Mello Dotson, 2 really good pieces for that secondary in Kansas. They're statistically kind of in the middle of the pack, a little bit below average. But honestly, Justin, the way this Iowa State offense has been playing inconsistently, it's not something you can just kind of brush to the side like you did against, Texas Tech had the worst passing offense or defense in college football. And that still wasn't super easy for Iowa State to capitalize on. So these guys got athletes. They got dudes. The defensive line has been better in years past for Kansas football. So it's not a defense I'm just assuming Iowa State's going to hang 35 on this week, the way they've been playing.
Yeah. I think the Kobe Bryant matchup against Jaden Higgins is going to be one to take note of. I know we've been talking about how when Higgins has that one-on-one coverage, we're going to him almost every time. And it's been pretty successful for us, but Kobe's probably the best corner he's going to have seen this year so far.
Sorry, I'm just thinking as you asked me that. Yeah, I mean, probably out of Jamar Harris for Iowa is pretty good. But no, yeah, you're probably right. Kobe Bryant's probably the best corner he's going to see, at least to this point. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting matchup. So leading off of that, Justin, let's get into keys to the game for Iowa State. It's one for me. And I've watched Kansas numerous times this year, and this is not something I think Iowa State's going to take a nap through. I think the game. I think this week's loss was a wake up call, which maybe it's something they needed, because this one could have been another trap opportunity for Iowa State had they pulled away with that win on Saturday. With this Kansas team, you're going to have opportunities to capitalize. This is a team that has been shooting themselves in the foot. They've had 5 losses by 6 points or less that we highlighted. They, for some reason, can't capitalize them all. That's really converted them to more wins for this year. Can Iowa State just capitalize on those turnovers? I don't think they did a very good job yesterday on Saturday against Texas Tech to do that. I know that this defense is going to create the opportunities for the offense. For me, got to capitalize them. You need 6 in the red zone. Take the 3 points when you can. That's what I think it comes down to for me. What about you?
Yeah, it's pretty simple answer from me too. I do think, as good as we've touched on Kansas's strengths here, I still feel like Iowa State is a more talented team. And for me, it's coming down to like the just cleaning up the sloppiness. And I know it's Matt Campbell coach speak, but winning in the margins, it's something that Iowa State did really good for their first 5 games of the season. And the last 2 weeks, they've done a really bad job of, and surprise, surprise, that's when they almost lost and took their first loss. Kansas has been, I know their record's not very good, but based off their team stats, they're a team that's been really good in the margins. They're 3rd in the country in third down conversion rate on offense, and they actually are number 1 in the country in red zone scoring percentage.
Good highlight.
So if we're going to be sloppy and we're not going to convert on third down like we did last week, like we did yesterday, that's something that they're going to take advantage of. And if that's a stat we're going to lose, is being inefficient in the red zone, putting ourselves in bad positions on third downs. This is not a game we're going to win. But I think if it is competitive, if we're close in those stats, I do anticipate us to be able to take advantage of that, and then should probably pull out that W.
Yeah, let's move into that. Let's go to the prediction side. One thing for me also I'll highlight last. Go back if you want to watch the 2022 game when Hunter Deckers went into Lawrence. How much that defense gave Jalen Daniels fits. I think Coach Haycock's going to have this group ready to go. Just don't force that offense to go 3 and out the first possession. I think that would really, really set the tone that this team is locked in. They've been ready to go after that loss. Prediction time, Iowa State is a 3.5 point favorite. Again, let us know in the comments, shopnorivals.com. If you let us know Kansas or Iowa State's going to win, and then give us a score. 2 for 2. You get a hat at No Rivals. For me, Justin, I trust this group, and I think that it was a good wake-up call, and I think this is a really good bounce-back opportunity against the team that in Kansas that I think is still hungry. They're still playing for bowl eligibility. I think they're really well coached in Lance Leipold, kind of similar to Matt Campbell and how he's built that football program. Iowa State has actually had a lot of fits against Kansas the last couple of years.
I was there last year. That was a tough game to be at. That was kind of a transition point for us in the season. If we would have won that game, I think we would have had the Texas game, and we would have been like 2nd in the conference or something. And they came in and just dominated us, really.
I think this is a good opportunity for a revenge spot. A little pissed off that you lost that football game. I like Iowa State in this one, but I don't know if the offense has cleared its issues. So that being said, I'm going to go 24-21 Iowa State. And that would be a cover for Kansas if you were into that. So, Justin, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm not too dissimilar, actually. My prediction is 24-18 Iowa State.
Okay.
I would like to say we're going to clean up some of our issues, but if I'm going to go out and predict it, I've got to see us do it before I'm going to predict us to go out and show what we're capable of, just based off the last two weeks. This Kansas team is still pretty talented. Like you said, it's a team that's beat us the last two years, just like Texas Tech was. So I got to see it before we go out and actually predict it and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That about wraps up the show. Justin, are we going to plug are we going to let our listeners, are we going to let them know, or are we going to surprise them? What do we think we're doing? We're doing a live show on Tuesday?
Oh yeah, I think we should. I hear there's some other things going on Tuesday, but I mean, it would have been a lot. It would have been a lot cooler with a win. But I still think it'll be something fun, something good for us to tune back into. Have a couple more days to let this loss simmer out of our minds, and we can come back and see what's going on Tuesday.
I think that's a great idea. Tune in, guys, Tuesday night. If you don't care about political BS and you want to talk more Iowa State, listen more Iowa State football, we're going to be doing a live reaction to the college football rankings, the college football playoff rankings that come out. Justin and I will give our thoughts on that. Again, Iowa State won't be as high as what we want them to be, but the Big 12 is still as wide open as ever. And I'm really, really interested to see how the committee puts back Iowa State compared to the rest of the country. So I think you guys should tune in for that. We will get out any extra, I think, Kansas thoughts. Maybe since we kind of went a little short on it, we'll give any more extra Kansas thoughts and then just what it looks like for Iowa State for the rest of the year going forward. Because like I said, Iowa State's not the only one kind of in the dumps this Sunday. Our friends in Farmageddon, Kansas State, is kind of in the same situation, and you could say it's even worse because they couldn't afford to have that loss at Houston. Now they're in the backseat. And Iowa State still controls their own destiny. Justin, before we get out of here, any more closing thoughts?
No, not really. I mean, kind of been a long last 24 hours for me, and I'm sure all of Cyclone Nation. Like I said in my little deal there, 0-0. I mean, we still control our destiny, so nothing to get too down in the dumps for. Iowa State still has an opportunity of a really special season, and I hope we've got a really strong presence down in Kansas City for this weekend.
Absolutely. That's well said. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Before you head out of here, comment down below, score predictions, like the video, subscribe to our channel here, Play the Fight Song, where we bring you guys college football content all across the country each and every single week. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. As always, we will see you guys Tuesday. And before we head out of here, it's Go Cyclones.